Welcome to episode 143 of the omnigamersclub podcast, the podcast for games on all sorts of platforms, including the Game Native app. I'm Mark Yuasa, and of course I'm joined by my regular co-host.
I am Daniel Winter, and we're glad to be joined by not one, but two special guests. That is Mark Ellis and Noe Escobar from Vancouver Playtest.
Welcome. How's it going,
Thanks for having
guys?
us.
Hi, good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, of course, some of you may know Mark Ellis is the previous co-host of Mark Yuasa's previous podcast, the Test Coast Games. Or may know either of you from visiting the Terminal City Tabletop Convention or Protocon, which we've spoken about before. But why don't you each tell us a little bit about yourselves and what you do in games? I mean, Noe, why don't you go first?
Sure. Hi, my name's Noe Escobar from Mexico City. I've been in Vancouver for 10 years now. And I've been designing games for maybe 8 years, something closer to 8 years now. It's been a ride. It's been very fun. I started this journey thinking I'm gonna make my own board game because how hard can it be? And 8 years later, here we are.
Famous last words, right?
Yes.
So how hard is it?
Well, I'm 8 years later. I'm still trying.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the playtesting and some of your games specifically in the broader playtesting process a little later. Mark Ellis, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history?
Yeah, it's similar in some ways to Noe because I I've also been in Vancouver almost 10 years now. Came from London, UK originally, and I've also been really designing games for probably around 8 years. Technically, I could say more like 15, but there's a big gap in between my first kind of efforts back in the UK. So since setting up Vancouver Playtest back in 2018, that's when I got a bit more serious. And like Noe, it's I knew there was a lot to learn, but you think you might get there a little bit more quickly than the reality. It's one of the hardest things I've had to do, I think. Not as hard as raising two young kids, but it's right up there. Game design is tough.
They are in many ways your babies too, I guess. Your children.
That's it. Yeah,
Very
that's
cool.
very true.
All right. Well, we're gonna do something a little bit different for this episode. Usually, we do 3 courses, maybe a bit of news, we'll cover a couple of games, and then some off-topic subjects. We're gonna modify that slightly. We're probably gonna have, since we have 4 people on the show, we're gonna have a conversation about your guys' our guests' experiences with the Vancouver Playtest group, with the conventions, Protocon, TCTC, and just kind of generally playtesting tips. Questions, advice, things like that. I think that's going to be the bulk of our conversation. But maybe to start us off, we can just talk about, what you've been playing lately, or maybe like a piece of gaming news, something new to you that's interesting you of late. Maybe, Mark Ellis, do you want to give us something that is entertaining you of late?
Well, I had a quick question, if you don't mind, just to set the tone here and establish your omnigaming credentials. Obviously, most would know you both from the board gaming scene, but I'm curious if you play video games, TTRPGs, other things as well.
Good question. Yeah, I'll say that I certainly enjoy playing a lot of digital games. I don't get the chance to play very many right now, but I was reminiscing just last night actually with someone who works on the Battlefield series of games that has been going.
In Vancouver.
yeah. So they're obviously based, working at EA, and just reminiscing how I still have snapshot memories of specific kills or encounters with other players dating back like 20 plus years. It's just incredible how vivid those memories still are. So. I used to enjoy those, like a lot of shooters back in the day, Unreal Tournament, Quake, and the like. But just don't get as much time to play digital games these days. But I also am less relying on fast twitch reflexes as I get older and more. I'm a bit calming things down a bit. Maybe XCOM is one of the big games that I really enjoyed over the past several years. So yeah, I don't play many RPGs. I will say that I'm not a full omni gamer in that respect.
Excellent.
Now me, I'm sort of in the opposite side. I'm not, and I have never been a video gamer other than all the arcade games back when I was on my teen years, when I had nothing else to do. Um, but I've been playing board games for a long time, for many years now. And in the last few years, in the last 8 or 9 years, I've been getting myself very much into, apart from the board games and board game designing, I've been playing a lot of RPGs and a lot of now Blood in the Clocktower, mostly because my wife is very much into that. Actually, Daniel, I believe you played with my wife once, Devi. You were
Oh yes, yeah. Mothership, I think.
yeah. You played
Yes,
Manship
yeah.
with my wife. She recognized it when I was preparing. She recognized your name.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I think Mark
Um,
was actually in the last game I played there as well.
oh well, you do know my wife, and because of that, I've been getting more and more into the TTRPGs and Blue the Clock Tower. Yeah, it's been a fun ride.
Excellent. So what have you been playing lately, Noe? What's hot for you?
Well, on the TTRPG side, I've been playing a whole bunch of stuff because as well as my wife is my first playtester, I'm her first playtester. So whenever there's a new campaign or whenever there's a new thing that Debbie is going to come up with, or I was one of the first ones playing Mothership because she was playtesting Mothership. So I've been playing a few RPGs, a lot of RPGs, and Blood in the Clock Tower, also a lot because she's now doing the same thing. So apart from my apart from what I do, which is playing board games, and designing RPGs with the wife.
Pretty cool.
That's awesome. All right, Mark Ellis, tell us about what you've been playing. What's exciting you these days?
Well, Noe's already just stolen my thunder there. I was going to go to Blood on the Clocktower because I played it for the first time on Friday with Noe and Debbie, and it's a game I've been hearing about for, I think it came out 22, so like a solid 4 years. You know, just it's getting so much buzz. Games of it springing up at every convention you go to, and finally I got a chance to actually experience it, which was really enjoyable. I mean, it definitely showed me why I'm not as into kind of RPGs, because I'm a terrible well, I was going to say actor. I'm just not. I wasn't convincing in my innocence. I was a townsfolk, and I kept finding my head on the chopping block. So it was an experience. It was intense at times, you know, trying to.
Those games are tough when you have to lie, but when you can't even tell the truth correctly, it's really hard.
Yeah, I don't know what would have happened if I was on the you know, the demon side. I probably would have not lasted very long at all. I managed to escape the block twice, so I'll say that I couldn't have done too terribly, but I thought it was a very interesting game that they've created there. You know, the social space they create, the tension between the players, the uncertainty that lasted all through the game, right to the last. We got down to 3 out of 12 players, so it went really the full distance, and it was very tense right up to the end. Credit to Debbie, Noe's wife, who did a great job kind of managing or storytelling that game, because another kind of interesting feature of it for me was the fact that they've got that ability in there for the storyteller to manage the game proactively and make sure it's balanced, which I thought was very, very interesting. So that
Very much of a facilitator or a GM, making sure that everyone's having a good time, right?
Yeah, but also the way that Debbie can choose, for example, which misinformation she's going to give you when you're drunk or you're poisoned. Some of those effects in the game. So I think it gives her some levers, or the storyteller, some levers which are very interesting. And just everyone had a fantastic time in the group. We had a couple of veterans, someone who played 50 plus times.
Wow.
So they did run a few rings around us at points, but yeah, well, all of us newbies really enjoyed it. So that's been occupying my thoughts big time.
I've always struggled with these social deduction games, but Blood on the Clocktower really is a phenomenon. It's amazing to see the demand. Every convention comes around, there's a huge waiting list for people to get into these games. So it's I really do need to try it at some point just to know what the deal is.
Yeah, it's
it seems to be a real it seems to be a really unique game. I mean, I'm not terribly experienced myself, but we've had previous a local game indie developer, Kennedy Goodkey. It was previous guest on the show. I know that he's a aficionado and plays it almost once a week. And it was really popular on Shut Up and Sit Down. I think they did a big kind of coverage on it when it first came out, and that led to kind of a big rise of it. And for those that are unaware, it's kind of like, I guess, has rough like roots in something like a werewolf or like a mafia sort of social deduction game, but it's a little bit more expanded than that and has some more wrinkles and layers and kind of teeters over into that TTRPG side. So pretty exciting stuff, and they must be doing something right.
Hey, if any of you wants to try it out, wants to play, let me know. Again, my wife, we can set it up. We can very easily set it up.
Awesome. We should plug your wife's group or whatever events coming up if on the show notes at the end of the show.
And I believe I heard there's actually a local convention, like a Blood on the Clocktower dedicated convention coming up at some point in the near future.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when that is. It's not my area of expertise, but yes.
Excellent.
Awesome. All right, just to wrap out the appetizer for myself, I'm just going to tease that Daniel and I started very quickly a new TTRPG experience. We just started though, so I'm not going to say a lot about it. We started a game of Wild Sea, which is a kind of a wild like fantasy on the high seas,
Weird
but with
fiction,
like
piracy.
weird, non-human creatures. Lots of kooky stuff going on, and that was enjoyable. That was locally here, near where I live, downtown Vancouver. So more about that in the future. But that is a very cool system.
Left a good first impression, I will say.
Yeah, and as for news, I saw very briefly. I haven't looked into this, but apparently there's a new mobile version of a game that I covered on the show a few episodes ago. It's the Urban Myth Disillusion Center, which I played on Nintendo Switch, is now available on mobile. So maybe you have another way to check it out. That's a pretty cool game with a really lovely art. So that's my appetizer. Daniel, you want to round us out?
Yeah, just quickly, in the continuing focus on the Lord of the Year, I've been reading through Lord of the Rings. I talked about The Hobbit recently, but I was reminded that Duel for Middle Earth, the sort of reskin of Seven Wonders Duel, recently had an expansion. We discussed that game in detail a year or so ago, but this expansion it's only basically a pack of cards. I think it's like 16 cards or something. It introduces these allies, they're called. So each faction, the good versus the evil side, have their own set of allies, and you'll draft 3 randomly at the start. You can collect the resources to play them over the course of the game. You probably only will get to play 1 or 2, but it does really add this sense of unknown factors to the game, where it can become very calculable, the tempo of the back and forth. If I take this card, you take this card, I take this card. You can sort of start to see the wiring in that game sometimes. So this adds a nice little wild card, I guess, to it. It also has Tom Bombadil like throwing fists for some reason. It's like, it seems extremely out of character, but it's some fun flavor in that. So I enjoyed my playthrough of that.
All right, cool. All right, well, I'm eager to move into the regular discussion, so why don't we move into our main course and talk about all things playtesting, Vancouver Playtest Group and playtesting events
Let's do it.
for Tabletop. All right. So I know you guys fairly well, Noe and Mark Ellis, from the Vancouver Playtest Group. So I think that's a logical place to start. Mark, you told us that you founded Vancouver Playtest Group in 2018, I believe you said. And I was actually attended pretty regularly for a while there, trying out my attempted game prototypes and things like that. And it was really enjoyable seeing it grow from very small to like a moderately sized group, and then seeing your great joint efforts at the local convention TCTC, which just happened a month or two ago. So I kind of like dropped out around 2020 in a pandemic, the height of it, lots of hard stuff going on. Maybe Mark and Noah, you can tell us like how the group is now, what you're doing now, kind of like after 2020 till today. How have things been for the Vancouver Playtest Group?
Uh,
Noah, you want to start us
yeah,
off?
sure. It's been a very interesting journey with this group. I joined the group at the middle of 2019. I believe you were already there by when I started.
Yeah.
I fell in love with the ambience and with the people and with the whole experience. So I became a very regular, and after a year or so, Marky had the idea of asking me to help him out, which I was very much happy to, because I love the community and I wanted to do as much as I could. And then when pandemic happened, it was a challenge because we wanted to keep doing what we were doing, and we wanted to keep helping the community to stay connected somehow, because we were not able to get out and we were staying at home. So that's when we moved the entire system from a personal or in-person system to a online, and we went totally online for like 2 years or something like that. And then we managed to keep it alive. We managed to keep the flame going. Not with as many people as we used to, but we managed to keep it going and keep us all together, and that helped us go through the whole pandemic thing. It helped me a lot to cope with being inside and with being trapped in house. I'm sure it helped a lot of people, a lot of our friends, to kind of cope and keep that conversation on and keep that connection with one another. And after pandemic happened, we decided to try to keep both sides of it. So as soon as we could, we went back to a in-person format, but we also kept the online format for those who were more comfortable doing it. So now that's what we're doing now. We gather every other Thursday in at Rain City for the in-person, and the other Thursday we gather online for people who cannot go to the in-person, or they want to double down on playtesting. They can also find us online. And
Right.
that's what we've been doing.
That's awesome. And I realized I have to apologize. I kind of like glossed over some details about like basically what is Vancouver Playtest and what is it that you do. So you said you meet in person once every other week at Rain City Games, our friendly local game store in downtown Vancouver. Of course, they have a branch in New West, but you don't do it there. You do it in downtown Vancouver. And people truck in, bring their physical prototypes. And when I was going more regularly, I remember it would be more like maybe like there would be breakout groups. So there'd be, depending on how many games are brought that day, there might have been like 3 games going on at once, 2 games, 3 games, maybe even 4 games at once. And some people, a lot of designers come and bring their games. some people come just to playtest, but a lot of times, you want to give back, not just receive. So, like a designer might also be offering to playtest the other game. Is that essentially how it still works?
Yeah, it is. It is exactly how it works. Um, we've been getting more and more people. So back when you were with us, we had two, maybe a couple of games in the table per session. Right now, we normally have three or four, maybe five games going at the same time in the first session, which is 90 minutes from 6 to 7:30, and then in the second session from 7:30 to 9, another five games going on. So we've been growing a lot.
That's really cool to hear. And of course, you said that every other week is also digital, and during the pandemic, you did a lot of digital. So, as I recall, kind of like Tabletop Simulator was the main kind of platform. It's software available on Steam, and I think it's probably available elsewhere as well for kind of virtually setting up prototypes, right? Is that primarily how you still do the digital side?
Yeah, but Mark, he can tell you more about the digital side because he's the one
Yeah,
who
please.
coordinates all that.
Yeah, I was curious about that because I mean, obviously, there's a lot of pros and cons to playing in person versus online, and I mean, the silver linings of the pandemic, I guess, it did increase the options and like create more infrastructure and options for how we can go about interacting online, and perhaps people who couldn't otherwise get to a physical meetup, for example. So yeah, perhaps Mark, you could talk to some of the advantages and options that you have for playtesting online.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. Actually, one of the biggest advantages that I see, Daniel, is connecting with people who are further afield. We have members who join us from Vancouver Island or Abbotsford. I think anywhere where it's just a little bit too far or too difficult to come in. It really helps us connect with those designers and for them to become part of our community as well, and we all get access to each other's knowledge and insights. So it's kind of a win for everyone involved when we can connect with more and more designers. So I say that's the single biggest advantage, but there are also some pretty big advantages actually with speed of prototyping. So there's an initial barrier of kind of learning the platform with any of these digital testing kind of platforms. You've got to figure out its foibles and how it works, and Tabletop Simulator is not the most kind of easy to learn, but once you've got the hang of it, it gives you the ability to very quickly iterate on your prototype and update graphic design or little bits and pieces without having to go and do a whole new print run or a lot of guillotining and whatever it is to kind of create a new set of cards. You can just turn it around really quickly. So I've heard some of our members mention explicitly that their process has become kind of bookmarked at each end with a physical prototype that they create initially in paper, physical prototype that they bring to the in-person testing, but through much of the middle phase when they're trying to iterate quickly, they do a lot of that digitally because it's just faster and easier. You can also, of course, because we meet every week, sometimes you might want to test more often than that, so they might connect with one or two members more informally ad hoc and move things along that way. So it's given us a lot of flexibility, and that's part of the reason as well that we've kept it going, post pandemic. Even though it's a much smaller group, like the beating heart of our community is still the in-person testing, and like Noe is there week in, week out doing an amazing job of including all the designers we get, because it's the case in our group that we try to be inclusive from very much like a complete novice designer trying their first prototype with the group through to, we've got some of our members are now very experienced designers, including the likes of Jay Cormier or Pam Walls and various others. So we all learn from each other in that environment and try and make it work for everyone, which is really what we're trying to do. So that's the core of the group, I'd say.
That's great. I wanted to ask you about kind of the people that do come to the, well, I guess really both the digital and the in person, but let's start with in person. Is maybe you have a steady group of regulars, it sounds like. People keep designing games, so they probably keep bringing prototypes. But I imagine that new designers come trickling in on a regular basis. Kind of like what's the split between regulars and like how many new people do you get? I guess that's kind of part one. And then like if you are a newbie, haven't gone before, like what sort of like stage of design should you be at? So maybe I'll ask Noe, part one, like how big is the group? You said you have like 5 games going on at once potentially. How big is a session even?
Yeah, it is a very interesting question. Um, the group is getting bigger and bigger. Right now we have a an average of, I don't know, 16 to 20 people coming on every other Thursday. Sometimes less, sometimes more. Um, and we have pretty much all levels of designers there. We are fortunate to have new people coming in pretty much every session. People who are interested, people who learn about us somewhere else in social media or meetup, or they saw us somewhere, or they talk to someone. So fortunately, we always have sort of new people coming in, and of course the seasonal people, our core base is designers are coming uh, every week, and they're coming every week for years. Um, how much you need to know in order to come here? Nothing. All you need is to like games and to know and to want to learn. Um, the Vancouver Playtesting group, both in person and online, is a space for people to create. It's a space for anyone who wants to create, and who wants to let their mind go, so they can come, and we can take anything or anyone who on any level. If you are already a designer and you have a bunch of games, come help us out. We'll play test your game, and we'll learn something from you. We'll probably learn something from you. If you are brand new, and you kind of have an idea, come with us, and we'll help you out. We'll help you bring it to life in somehow. And it has happened a few times, and I'm very proud of this. It has happened a few times for people. We have a couple of people who came one day just because they wanted to play games, and they didn't really know what we're doing, and they wanted to know how games are made, but they didn't think of making a game. They were just curious about how a game is made, and today they're making their own games. After seeing how it goes, and after seeing how the community is, we all have friends, and we all help each other. They come to us, they come to me and say, "Hey, no, I would like to create my own game, but I don't know where to start." Perfect, you're already here, so let me get you a couple of people who will help you out. What's your idea? And let's get that idea out. So um, we have we have people that know, and have already published a lot of games like Yay, and we have people who have never played a prototype, and they just want to do it. So yeah, it's pretty much for everyone.
So I was meaning to ask. I mean, you kind of answered this question already, but to add on to that, like most of your members, I imagine, are designers in some fashion. But like, do you get professional playtesters, people who just there to playtest games? So obviously, every designer needs as wide a pool of playtesters as possible, like getting different opinions. Like, do you get people to just show up just to playtest games and not without really intending to design themselves? And I mean, obviously, there's there is a science to that. Like there is how to be a good play tester without being a designer yourself. I think is something I've been trying to work on personally. Like how to even give good advice. Maybe
Yeah.
that's something you could talk to.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. We have professional playtesters. I don't know if that's a thing. What we have, and we have a lot, is people who just come to play. They're not interested on making a game yet. But they just come to play, and they're just people who like board games and are interested on the craft. Um, and I think that is one of the most valuable playtesters that we have, because yeah. So if I get my game playtested by another designer, I'm definitely gonna get some degree of feedback, but very specific feedback, very mechanical feedback, very that has to do with the mechanics and the all the cracks of the game. But when I have someone who just likes to play, that's the person who is going to end up playing my game one day, hopefully. And that's the feedback that I think is the most valuable, because that's the feedback that the people will tell me, you know what, I think it was boring. I didn't like it, so I didn't like this and I didn't like that, and then I can work with it. But yeah, we have a lot of people who just play.
I mean, actually, to tangent on that a little bit more, this is more of a personal question. There's no real best practice, like no one way to design a game. But for each of you, like, do you have a game in mind and you just want to make the game for yourself, or do you have an audience in mind? And like, are you designing for yourself, or are you designing for a particular audience?
Maybe we can ask Mark
Yeah,
to
Mark.
field this one.
That's a really good question. And I don't know if my answer is going to be a good one. I mean, I think the reality is I start designing a game that I'm interested to play. I guess I'm designing for myself. I sort of, an idea comes to you, and in my experience, that idea is interesting because it's something that that grips your imagination. That you think, well, that sounds fun to play. I can imagine that being a game out there in the world that people really want to get into, but it's predominantly me kind of imagining that experience for myself, I guess, at least initially. So I think for me to get excited enough about an idea in the early stages, and put all the work into developing a prototype, it's got to be something that I would want to play. I think first and foremost is the honest answer, and I think considering the audience comes much later. That's been my process so far. I mean, it could be that I've got lots to learn, and that in the future, I'll bring that part of the process forward. If you want to be more successful as a publisher, I think the mantra in a lot of design, as far as I'm aware, is that you need to really have your audience top of mind. So it's probably a little bit of a misstep to kind of stay in that personal perspective too long. But that is my reality nonetheless.
I think most designers would probably start out designing for themselves. At some point, sooner or later, you hit that reality of like, what do I need to change to meet an audience? Like, especially if you start talking to publishers. But I mean, I think part of the joy of seeing these smaller playtesting groups, or the looking at the Proto Alley at TCTC and places like that, you see a lot of designers who have no interest in making a retail product. They have a game in mind and they want to see it become a reality. It doesn't need to be a big thing or a smash hit. It just needs to exist in the world for however many people are in their community.
Yeah, that's very true. There are games that are just like social phenomenon, or folk games. Like, that's how Werewolf and Mafia started off, right? There's no box products for the early part of their existence. All right, Mark Ellis, you founded the Vancouver Playtest group. I want to ask you, what recent changes, maybe alterations you had to make over the course of the last 8 years, or whatever you made recently, kind of what sort of achievements you've had, what worked for you. And part two to that question is, kind of where do you want to take the group in the next 8 years or 10 years? What tell us about the history and the kind of trajectory of Vancouver Playtest Group?
Sure. Well, I think Noe's already done a great job of sort of describing that arc that we experienced through from the beginning of the group through the pandemic. I will say that the inspiration for the group initially came from Playtest UK, which is a group that I started playtesting with when I was living back in the UK, and I was just inspired by the fact that they were very open to all levels of designer just coming along, mixing in with much more established, knowledgeable, skilled designers, but everyone's rubbing shoulders together and very inclusive, welcoming community. So I wanted us to build something like that with eventually a kind of a similar level of design experience and knowledge within the group, so that members coming along really get a lot of value from testing and learning from those people. And I think that's been the most pleasing thing for me about our trajectory, especially in the last few years, is that I think we've slowly but surely built up a membership that includes a lot of very knowledgeable, insightful designers who are out there getting their games published. Maybe in some cases they're already working in digital games and they're bringing that sort of a background, or they have other formal design training. There's all sorts of perspectives that some of these designers bring that just really opens my eyes all the time. It's such a learning curve, game design. It constantly staggers me just how many lenses I guess you could say that you can apply. There's a great book by Jesse Schell called The Art of Game Design, and the subtitle is a book of lenses, and I think there's something like 120 lenses in there, and through which to analyze your game. And I just feel that our group is getting to a point where you've got all these different perspectives coming together, that you very quickly find out, okay, where is this game right now, this prototype that I'm testing, and you get the good and the bad shared equally. We try and be critical but supportive, and I feel like you can see from the successes we've had with designers getting their games tested with our group and then going on to be published, that we're heading in the right direction. That more and more designers are having that sort of success, if that's something they are striving for. So the future looks pretty exciting. I think that was the second part of the question there, Mark. I guess the main answer is we're going to carry on doing what we've been doing, because it seems to be working quite well so far. But we also, Noe and I have been talking about it's probably high time we actually go out formally to our members and ask, what other things would you like to see? And because organically we've started to do a bit more regular testing. So we've got one further in-person session that's sprung up, that's also in Vancouver. But we're starting to think about other ideas, like could we offer a game development service? Would there be any interest in that sort of thing? As well as we've started, Noe and we've become part of something called the Critical Play Lab at UBC. So this is essentially a sort of community of scholars and students and members of the gaming community, which is where we come in, who come together in this space to sort of talk about play in a critical sense, and build the kind of research and pedagogy in digital and analog games. So that's been a very interesting place for us to learn, and they've been supporting the group financially, for which we're very grateful. So we want to carry on sort of building that partnership, and that one area that might look like going into is we may support some regular playtesting at UBC, get that started up. So that would be something exciting for us to kind of help to share knowledge at UBC as well. So that's a couple of the key ideas that we've been talking about, Noe. And I don't know if Noe has anything possibly to add to that.
No. You said it all. We're very excited about the plans that we're having with the UBC people. There's a big community of gamers that apparently didn't know that we existed, and we didn't know that they existed, and that is going to be very excited. The opportunity of expanding our group and our knowledge and our community to a more diverse public is gonna be very exciting, and the possibility of creating a development something with the community. That's pretty much it.
Excellent. Yeah, I was talking to the people from the Critical Play Lab at TCTC. They had a booth there and had a fascinating discussion. I think that was that initiative that Greg Loring Albright, previous guest of the show, actually had come out to do a talk there sometime last year. And we were also looking at tapping the gaming community at UBC there to help out at TCTC in future years as well. So I think there's a lot of cross-pollination between the various communities. But I mean, continuing on in terms of branching out, Terminal City Tabletop Convention and Protocon, two larger events that I think are sort of ripe opportunities, both to bring in a larger group of designers from further afield, but also a larger pool of playtesters as well. So perhaps you'd like to talk to your experience at those.
Yeah, maybe we can start. I know that there's an interesting story with a wild hot swapping table festa going on. Maybe we can start with Noe, because I know that you had a dedicated table for your very kind of mature, not mature audience wise, but like kind of well developed game that you brought to TCTC. So Noe, can you tell about the game that you brought and you demoed to me and I saw there?
Yeah, the game that I had on TCTC is called Spellaby. Early on, you Daniel, you make a question. You did a question about if designers make games for themselves or for someone else. And I pretty much agree with Mark Ellis there, that you design for yourself first, because that's a game that you wanted to do, and that's exactly what I did with this particular game that I'm working on. That hopefully I can publish myself soon. Spellaby is a worker placement word game, much like Scrabble, but connected with worker placement. And the idea of this game is I made a game for myself because I am personally dyslexic, so word games for me are particularly hard. Because the whole putting letters together to make a word is just not how my brain works. So I designed a word game for dyslexic people. I designed a game that dyslexic people like myself can play. I designed a word game that I can play, that I'm not particularly good at, but I can play. And that's what I did. This is a design that came out from a necessity of something to play with. A funny story about that is when I told my wife, she obviously knows that I'm dyslexic and that I have problems with that kind of things. When I told my wife that I was gonna make a word game, her first action was like, "What? You? You can barely spell." Like, I know. That's why I'm making it.
It's awesome. I mean, having gotten into word games in the last few months myself, it is a genre that's somewhat vulnerable to accessibility issues.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't just rewarding rote memorization, right? And then games that can find a way to bring people in and empower them to utilize their skills and how their brain works in whatever way that may be, and then still have fun, obviously.
Yeah, and I was fortunate to have a full table for myself. It was exhausting, exhausting, but it was a great experience. I playtested with a lot of people. I playtested with people very knowledgeable, that gave me a lot of really good feedback. And most importantly, I playtested with the public. One of those playtesters was a dyslexic person, a dyslexic woman, who was looking at my game, looking at like it's pretty cute and everything, but I don't know if I can play it. I was like, well, you can try it. And she's like, well, war games are not my thing because I'm dyslexic. And I went, you know what? This is fantastic because I'm dyslexic and I make this game exactly for that. So now I can play it because it's my game. But if you do me the favor and playing it, that'll be fantastic to have your opinion. And she played it, she loved it, and she was very excited about it. So that was a win for me. That was a very 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 big win for me.
That's so cool.
You made a pre-sale right there.
Yes.
That's very cool. All right. I'm going to ask Mark Ellis, I guess, a two-part question. So tell us about the Funky Table situation, the sharing that went on. I think you were kind of spearheading that, but maybe, Noe, you have some thoughts too. You're right next to that table. And then, of course, we're going to talk about your game, Mark Ellis, after that. So tell us about the Hot Swap in Vancouver Playtest multi-table situation. How did that go?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had this table that we had bought for the group to share between six of us. So myself and five other members from the group were sharing the table in a way that we kind of scheduled it such that we got an equal number of hours over the weekend. That was the broad plan, and we put quite a bit of effort into dressing the table and giving our group some presents there. So Steve Gallant, one of our members who was himself showing his game at that table, has a background in logo design. So we got Noe and I got him involved. He sort of very much volunteered his time and expertise, which helped us tremendously to develop this new logo for the group that looks a bit more professional and polished than the logo of old, as fond as everyone was of that one. And he had the sort of the backdrop and the tablecloth and everything to weave it all together. So that was a lot of work went into developing our logo and the printed banner that we had, if you remember that. But when it came to actually sharing the table, it was a little bit more challenging than I think we imagined in the flesh, primarily because of the competition day on Saturday, when we had those hours during which I think 4 of the 6 of us were in the competition, and we didn't know when the judges were going to drop in on us. So we had some pretty frantic moments of quick set up the game and show it to another judge, or dive off to a nearby table if the judge was happy to do that, which they pretty much always were. So it was a little bit chaotic at times, but fantastic kind of. It was like the community in microcosm, really, because they're the 6 of us very much bonding and getting to know each other much better over the course of that convention through the whole process, and it was just fantastic experience. It was such a fun way to spend that convention, and I think none of us have the stamina that Noe obviously has to man a table by himself for an entire weekend. It's just it's certainly beyond me anyway. I'll say that much. So it was partly selfish to want to set up a table to split between a large group. I just can't. I don't think I could do more than 6 hours of playtesting of my own game during a convention. So it worked out very well.
Right. Well, maybe the Vancouver Playtest group will rent out 2 tables, and then you can have slightly longer sessions with fewer people, and that might balance out a little better. That's cool. So how many people was it in total that split the one table?
It was 6 of us this time, and it's a very good point. Yeah, I think next year we may well try and get two tables, or maybe even more. We ended up being oversubscribed for that table, so I probably had 8 people who wanted to come in for the 6 spots, and 6 was really the limit. So yeah, I think it might be a case of sort of a 4 and a 4 or something like that next time, or maybe 3 4s if the group keeps growing as it does.
Yeah, I unfortunately didn't have much time to stop by and playtest much myself because I was also busy volunteering over that weekend. But I always enjoyed when I was walking back and forth, stopping and seeing the diversity of all the different types of games. I remember there was one at your table that was like a dexterity game. You were like throwing discs to like knock down towers or something. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was Jeremy Rosenhart's new
Ah,
prototype,
yes. Okay.
and yeah, I mean we had a real range of games. There's very good advert for all the different styles that members bring to the group. I never got one of my regrets is I never got a chance to try that game and a bunch of other games on Proto Alley that looked fantastic. It was you always feel like you're in a time crunch when you're prototyping and showing games at these conventions. So it was the only kind of regret of the convention was that I didn't get to see more of what was going on in a bit more depth. But
Yeah, I have a little bit of perspective of that day that was unique. One regret I had was that I was sick that weekend, so I actually only was able to make one day out of that weekend. It was the Saturday. I saw you guys, so I was pleased that I got to spend some time there. But I also participated in the judging of some of the Indie Alley games, and I got to say it was a challenge. I got handed out like 5 games. I think one of them ended up being yours, Mark Ellis, but I actually recused myself because I have known you for so many years. But yeah, it was actually kind of hard to even get into some of the other tables that were there all day because hey, they were giving out demos. I'm not going to take someone else's spot and sneak in when it's convenient for me. I kind of had to mill about back and forth quite a while. It's probably a good thing that all of those tables were busy and occupied with demoers.
I wanna also mention and shout out that it was Mark Ellis' game, the one who won the big prize of the day. We
Yes,
have
right.
to
the
we have to
Golden Arbutus.
the Golden Arbutus. That was Mark's game.
Congratulations. Was that expected?
thanks. Yeah,
What do you think?
it was not. It was not expected. In fact, I kind of remember at the beginning of the Saturday, kind of looking at the schedule and thinking, well, I probably won't make the final, so then I'll have this time will free up, and maybe I'll get to go and try some of these other games, or I think I only got to actually play one game during the convention. So yeah, I didn't do too well on that front, but yeah, I was thrilled to even to make the final, and shout out to all the other finalists and Noe included. Noe's Spellaby game, I've seen it develop over the last couple of years, and into just a fantastic looking game. And yeah, I was thrilled for both of us to be in that final 5, and pretty shocked, I have to say, to come away with that prize. Just obviously delighted, and I'm still kind of taking it in. It's kind of surreal when you're so used to getting the critical feedback that we get at the group, to actually to get some very positive feedback. I really enjoyed showing it to the whole judging panel, including there were some amazing kind of figures in there that you had never met before. We had Daryl Andrews come along, and of course we had Sen Fung Lim, who you know as well very well, Mark, and I imagine Daniel, you must know Sen as well. So
Oh, yes.
Roberta Taylor I'd never met. So yeah, it was a really fun experience, and just yeah, I still amazed at the outcome. But finally, after 8 years, it feels like I may be getting some design skills under my belt at last. So
Yeah, I
it's
think
been a long road.
for the case of both of you, Noe and Mark, that your inclusion in the finals was well deserved. Like you said, there were some heavy hitters in that panel, other than myself, and they all obviously thought positively about your game. Well, Mark Ellis, tell us a bit more in detail about the game specifically. What were people wowed by? What is the theme? What are the mechanics? Or maybe just a little bit. What makes your game unique?
Sure, yeah, I'll give you a quick rundown. I mean, it's basically the game's called Planet Rollers, and in this game you're using dice to discover planets. So it's essentially a spatial puzzle. Every player has their own board. You're drafting dice and then you're spending them to build out a map of these planet tokens. I guess the central concept is really that you've got these planet tokens look something like this. It's just easier to show, but some people will be listening. So it's just the circular token with a color and a value, which corresponds to colors and values of dice in the game, and you're trying to spend a die of equal color and value to discover a planet. So it's just a matching process, and then you're building sets of the same color of planets to grow your score, as well as pairs of the same value. So that spatial puzzle, it's all about building those sets or pairs through adjacency. The theme of the game is that you're a group of astronomers and you're sharing an observatory. So you're looking out through this pair of telescope lenses, and that's kind of like the main way. The main sort of idea of the game is that you are rotating this telescope to point at the planets that you want to discover. They're kind of around this hexagonal board, and when you discover them, you bring them into your into the kind of inside space of that map. So it's kind of set collection, worker placement, and dice manipulation are really the three key mechanics in there. And on the worker placement side, it's a combination of kind of the classic take on worker placement, where you're blocking other players from taking useful actions if you use them yourself. But really, one of the big developments of the game was that I wanted to make a spatial puzzle game that was also fairly interactive. Like there's some wonderful spatial puzzle games out there, but I often feel a little like I can't influence the other players too much, if you know what I mean. Like we're all doing our solitaire puzzle and it's fantastic, but I just wish I could, I don't know, mess with Noe's plans a little bit, or take something out from under Daniel's nose that he might want to use. But that was kind of the inspiration for a few changes that I made along the way, and actually it turned out to be that positive interaction has sort of played a big part in the game. So now half of the actions that you could take have positive effects for other players, and that generates a lot of table talk and nice moments where you've just gained something from someone else's action, and you try and plan a little bit about that. Yeah, I don't know if that hopefully builds a picture of the kind of game. It's sort of in the 45 to 60 minute range, so it's trying to be a kind of a light medium puzzle game.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that the thing that made your game, among all the functioning pieces and the attractive design, was the kind of the innovation of, like, there's the telescope observatory is actually in the orientation for everyone. So it's not just like you control the telescope and Noah controls the telescope. You kind of like share joint custody of one telescope. And I thought that was clever and thematic, because I think real world, like, research institutes, universities will actually like share time on a telescope observatory and say, can you point it towards this sector of the sky, and I'll have it for like half a day or 24 hours or something like that. And likewise, they'll share data that comes from that. So I thought that was a really cool thematic connection, and ties it to the game mechanics in a smart way. So thanks
Mark,
for telling us. Yeah, thanks for telling us about that. All right, we've actually talked for a decent amount of time. I think maybe we should wrap up with maybe one last question. Daniel, did you have a thought of another question to ask these guys, or should I ask mine?
I don't know if it's worth talking a little bit about Protocon and how some of the approaches to that, and or maybe I know, having attended, Mark Ellis and I are both involved in organising Protocon. Noe, I know you you had a booth there last year, but one of the highlights for me, at least, was the game jam, and how that is a very different form of game design, and it's not so much playtesting, I guess, but it's an excellent sort of exercise in stretching those muscles, I guess, and iterating on new ideas.
Yeah, I guess I could jump in on the game jam side. It's something that I've been involved in organizing game jams for several years now. Back from Matt Mitchell, who I used to do the avant-garde game jams with. That's Matt is also Table Talk Reviews.
Ah,
.com
yes.
if you know that review site. He's moved east. He's I think in Montreal now. But we did a lot of game jams with Matt, and that's where I learned kind of a structure that works for it. And we both really enjoyed the fact that game jams kind of bring people together who have never met before, and you really kind of forge a great partnership in a short space of time. That saying around, necessity being the mother of invention. You've got to, you've really got to get moving quickly to create some sort of idea based on the constraints that you get. So it's always a lot of fun, even if it's quite pressured. I try and keep the atmosphere a little bit relaxed as far as possible. But yeah, it is the pressure that I think kind of forces out these creative ideas, and it's always a pleasure to see what teams come up with. As much as I'd like to be on the other side of the equation, uh, participating in the jam, I guess I've fallen into organizing these jams, and it was the Protocon one was really, really great to kind of to run jam again, because I hadn't done it for quite a few years at that point. But B, like Protocon was such a celebration for our local design community, just seeing so many designers come together, and so many testers getting excited about the games they were seeing. Obviously, it was the first year running a Protocon in BC, and huge shout out to Jalen, especially for having the idea and the initiative to put it together, but the whole organizing team. And I think like I've been a really small part of that with the game jam, but it was amazing to see should maybe amazing is the wrong word. The ideas that came out of that jam, it was like the strongest set of the strongest set of designs I've ever seen by quite some margin. I guess it should be expected, because it was a convention full of designers, all their design brains firing. So yeah, it was a brilliant jam. We had a lot of trouble picking a winner, but I was glad to be part of a panel of three. I think it was me, Jalen, and Gabe picking the winners. But it was very, very difficult to choose. But yeah, hoping to do more jams in the future, both at Protocon, TCTC. We ran a small jam there this year, myself and Jalen. And Noe and I've been talking about maybe Vancouver Playtest ought to organise a few more jams as standalone events if we can, and if there's interest. So yeah, I think it has a real value, and if you're a designer, you want to just see something get onto the table quickly, then it's a very fun way to learn, and with a pretty low commitment, 2-3 hours tops. What was your own experience like from the participatory side of that? I could ask the question to you, Daniel, but also to Noe, because you both
Yeah, I'll throw
both
to
had your
Noe.
yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, game jams are one of the main reasons why I fell in love with with the Vancouver Playtesting group from the first place. I do remember back in 2019, their first jam that I went to. It was a fantastic experience. It was an experience. It was a experience that I never had before, because it was purely creative, and my brain was very excited about working on a game design just out of the blue. So being on the designing part of the game jam is, at least for a brain like mine, is just delightful. Is super fun. It's very interesting, and it scratches the part of my brain that wants to create and wants to fix and wants to do stuff. Uh, for anyone listening to this, I highly recommend that you at least try it at least once. If you are even a little bit interested in how games are made, a game jam is the way to go. It's a no pressure ambience on which your imagination and your creativity is the main course of the whole day. So, and whatever you come with is good. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever you come with is a new thing that you can, if you want, keep going and keep creating. So it's one of the most fun parts of my. That's pretty much why I decided not to help organizing it and playing instead.
I mean, it's this real raw explosion of possibilities and all the different directions that could possibly take, and
Absolutely.
like being pulled in multiple directions as a collaborative experience. I mean, I participated too with my daughter, as I'd mentioned before. It was just the two of us, so I could let her imagination just run wild and not be constrained. So she had a blast with that too.
I've had the fortune of attending quite a few game jams, most often run by Mark Ellis, so I can also say that they're fantastic experiences, and I hope to see more of them in the future so I can attend. And they're great for anyone, so take them on. Maybe if you're sitting on the fence about trying on your own game designs, well, this gives you no excuses because you got 45 minutes or something to do it, and you got the right audience and the right setting. So
I remember one particular game jam that we had during pandemic that was entirely online, and the I think it was one of the most fun that I had ever, because that was a game jam that we had to play. We had to create something not only with games that we already had, but with pieces that we had on our house. So I remember doing mine with things that I found on my kitchen and stuff like that. That particular one was really fun.
That was my first game jam too. Actually, I really enjoyed that one.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, shout out to Nick. That was Nick Angiers, I think, who was organising that one. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
And I should probably mention it. Yeah,
right. Constraints breed creativity.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if either of you have, or I'll ask both of you, have any final advice as like for aspiring game designers out there. I mean, both as just where to get started, but also like finding community. I mean, I imagine most big cities out there will have some equivalent. I mean, obviously Vancouver Playtest is special, but like just broadly, any general advice you'd have for designers trying to find that sense of community and getting started.
Yeah, well, I guess the best advice that I can tell to people who are interested on game design or creating a game is just try it. Just do it. It doesn't matter, because that's something that I hear a lot, right? I haven't done it because I don't have a good prototype, or I haven't come because I don't have what I need. All you need is the idea, and we help you with the rest. If you are interested, come find us. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Meetup. There's a lot of places that you can find us. All you need is an idea. I want to make a game about this, and we'll help you with the rest. You don't need anything else. Just do it. Just go. Just do it.
Awesome. Mark Ellis, what do you think? One piece of advice for aspiring designers?
I think that's excellent advice from Noe. Just to go out there and make that start, make the connection, go to the local group, whether it's us or elsewhere. Because you've really got it's something you can't do alone. Really, game design. You have to connect with the community around you. It's just the fastest, best way to learn is to meet other designers. Or just to start putting your game out before other people and start getting some feedback. I think often people are hesitant because they feel that they are inexperienced and they're kind of afraid of the unknowns, if you like, or that they're going to be shown up as some kind of novice when they show the game, that it wasn't really ready to be shown. There's a lot of uncertainty about like how early should I show a design to someone else? But I think one of the best ways to get past that barrier sometimes is just go to the group as a tester. So we were talking about that idea of going along and getting a feel for a group, or being almost like a professional playtester. I think it's a great way to learn from other designers and see how they run their playtest session, see what kind of feedback people are giving, and hopefully gain some bravery from the fact that, like, if you come down to our group, you'll see late stage prototypes, sure, that look, polished and they're functioning well, but you'll see very early stage prototypes as well that have all sorts of pretty major issues that need to be grappled with. But it's still best to put your game out there early as you can and start getting the feedback and the guidance from an earlier stage. It will just get you to your goal that much quicker if you can bring yourself to do it. I think the one caveat to that is maybe that I always find it a wise idea to do a little bit of testing yourself, just as an individual, before you bring a design. That's kind of the ideal, just because sometimes you'll then spot something which is a glaring flaw that you never imagined before you actually start testing the game, but you'll spot that for yourself and maybe fix that sort of key thing, and then you're ready to show the game. So that would be my kind of big piece of advice, I guess.
I mean, some of these ideas you've spoken to there remind me, like, we've seen this big uptick in people leaning on AI to help in the design process, which I think in large degree speaks to this insecurity that people feel of, like, putting themselves out there and accepting that feedback, but also in thinking that they have to do it all themselves. Like, there needs to be a better understanding that it is a collaborative experience, that, like, getting feedback is not scary, and it's an important part of building a game, and bouncing it off other human people is a big part of that process, obviously.
Yeah, it is interesting the way that people are. I've heard of designers using AI as like a sounding board in that process, like not necessarily to give them the idea pre-packed, but to sort of test their thinking, or just the process of feeling like you're talking to someone is helpful. So I think that does speak to the value of connecting with your community and getting that feedback. It just gets your creative juices flowing that bit better, and builds that momentum, I think.
I think it speaks to the importance of groups like Vancouver Playtest, and, like, that community is important. I think, like, we've lost a lot of that in the social media era, basically, but getting back to that is, I think, an important part of the design process.
Yeah, to build upon your points, both you, Noe, and Mark, is that it's inspiring just to see it, right? Like, whether you believe you can do it or not, whether you have a good idea or not, if you go every week for a few weeks and you see a bunch of other people bring a bunch of different ideas, some good, some bad, some get better, you see, hey, like, it can be done. Like, this doesn't come out of a perfectly designed out of Reiner Knizia's brain every time, or it doesn't come out as a final product. Like, these things start from somewhere and they get to be good over time. So I think being there is a benefit in itself. Being at the playtest group, I should say.
And as I said, we have a lot of people who came one day just to play, with no intentions of making anything, just play games. They came for a couple of times, and then after that they realized that it was something that they could do, and now they're making their own games, and now they're playtesting their own games, and some of them are almost ready to publish and stuff. So just come and play.
All right, I have a wild idea. I want to do a third segment, but I think we're running a little bit long on time. So I'm going to modify it on the fly, maybe make a little game of it. Let me know what you guys think.
We like games.
All right. Quick lightning round. Maybe we'll just go alphabetical order. Tell me your favorite game that has come out of the Vancouver Playtest group. This might be a little bit harder for Daniel, who hasn't been there for many years, but think about it for a second. I know that there's been some pretty notable and cool and interesting games that have reached from prototype, playtest to final product out of the Vancouver Playtest group. How about we'll do Daniel last, give him a little bit of time. Okay, so Mark Ellis, you've been there the longest. What is the game that you've most Maybe it's just like you think it's special or unique. It doesn't have to be the best.
Yeah, that is a tough question. Um, there's some strong contenders. If I had to pick a single game, I think I might go for a game called Reforest, which is a card game set in Pacific Northwest, sort of Cascadia region. So very much rooted in the wildlife that we're surrounded with, both flora and fauna. But primarily, it's about the kind of ecosystem of uh, shrubs and trees and everything in between. Down to herbs and some very small plants through to kind of these 60-meter hemlocks and whatnot. And this is a game by Sebastian Bernier Wong from Firestarter Games, and he's one of our digital testers. He joins us from Vancouver Island on our tabletop simulator sessions, and that game for me, it inspired me because it's one of the things I love about living in Vancouver is the nature here, the access to nature, and he's just I think he's very much inspired by that as well, and just to see him create this game that has won a lot of critical praise. I think Dice Tower gave it a seal of excellence. I think I'm right in saying that. And it's just a pleasure to play. It's surprisingly brain burning. It's got this unique kind of pyramid structure where you're setting out a tableau essentially, but in this specific pyramid shape. Adjacency matters, but one of the key things that matters is the height of the plants that you're developing in your tableau, and you have to put on top. It's got kind of this stacking element where on top of an existing card you have to put a taller plant, and sometimes that means that the plant underneath kind of gets turned into compost because it needed the sunlight to to survive. In which case you flip it over, but it's still worth some points. But some plants are fine in the shade, so some plants you carry on using the icons at the bottom. That for me is just a really elegant, beautiful design with beautiful cards and artwork, and it's been a real pleasure to see that game in particular develop and take off like it has. So
Right, a good pick. That game will appeal to the kind of science and nature biology lovers out there. I could instantly recommend it to people who like Wingspan and games like that have kind of like nature adjacency and like scientific fact kind of interwoven in that as well. Okay, I'm going to go next, and I apologize if I'm going to cause any groans out there because I'm going to pick a very notable one. But I really enjoyed and appreciate the fact that I got to try and see early version of Steam Up from Hot Banana Game, local success story. And the box is right there. No one's holding it
that
up.
was my pick.
All right.
To be honest.
You know what? No, I'm going to give it to you because I have a backup. Tell us
No.
why Steam Up is cool.
That is a fantastic pick. It's one of my it's one of the stories that I like to tell the most because not only I got to playtest that game when it was just pieces of paper in the table, but we've seen it going big and big and big. It is a fantastic game. It's right here. From Pauline Kwong and Marine Wong, from Hot Banana Games. We play tested that on our group when it was just pieces of paper. We saw it growing. We saw it making a lot of like a lot of money on Kickstarter, and it kickstarted the whole Hot Banana Games platform, which now had a lot of really good games, and it is a special. It has a special part on my heart because they both specialize in the games for the Asian community that brings the Asian culture to it. Myself being married to an Asian a beautiful woman, is very important for me to get that culture. And Steam Up is a fantastic game. It's one of my favorites, and I have it right here, right next to, and I play it as much as I can.
Right.
Funny enough, every time I play it, I send a picture of me playing it to Pauline. Like, hey, I'm playing your game.
Yeah, we actually had Pauline. We had the Hot Banana game on our show to do a food episode. So that was an absolute pleasure. And that was a game I knew from like before anything, like early prototypes. That game's going to be big. Like I just knew it. Not like will this be published? Not will it be sold in a retail store? But this will be big. I knew it, especially when they showed us like the early prototypes of the injected squishy dim sum pieces. I was okay. Game over. I know it's done. Okay, I'm gonna quickly do my real suggestion then. It's a smaller game. It's a 2-player game by a designer. Nice. That's done other stuff before, but he's maybe from the East Coast. I forget his name actually, and the name even. It's over there, but I'm not going to walk away. It's called Downstream. You guys know this one? I think it's called Downstream.
Sebastian?
Is it Sebastian?
Yeah.
All right, double entry there. Sorry.
Well done, Sebastian. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a cool concept. The cards are so simple. There it is. It's just a river, and the river goes straight or deeper kind of one way. So it goes towards you or it goes towards the opponent. And I think you're just trying to control like how much of the river is oriented towards like your side or something like that. It's about how the river kind of meanders up and down. And there's kind of like point effects like for you and for the opponent at the same time. I just thought it was really clever. I really enjoyed playtesting this with the designer. It's 2 players, so it was intimate experience. And it was cool. I that's another game that I thought, this is really smart. I'm definitely going to play this when it comes out, and I bought myself a copy. So that's my entries Downstream. Okay, pass it over to Daniel. What's your game?
My pick was also going to be Hot Banana's Steam Up, but they also have I've had the pleasure of trying their other upcoming games at Protocon recently, and also Sebastian's upcoming game. Thinking through some other Vancouver games, I'm not sure which of them have specifically gone through Vancouver Playtest. But just thinking back to Protocon, at the very least, one highlight to me was a little game. It hasn't been released yet, but they were working up to it. Was called Stiletto. By Crooked Codex Games, and it was very much in the vein of something like Blood on the Clocktower. It was a social deduction game where, but more gamified, more of an actual board game where you're moving around a physical board and trying to eliminate particular identities across the board. So I really enjoyed that one last year. I'm looking forward to that. It was very professional looking production. They'd done all the artwork and all of the production themselves. So I think they were moving towards publishing that themselves soon.
So cool. I'm glad you suggested something that's forthcoming. We can all look forward to. Okay, guys, we've been talking at length. Keep talking longer because there's so many kind of exciting topics and offshoots that come out of the game design community in Vancouver and thereabouts. But it's getting late in the evening, so we should let you go. Where can we find out more about Vancouver Playtest Group and yourselves and other initiatives that you want to share? Maybe starting with you, Noe. Do you want to shout out anything, or where can people follow you?
Yes. Well, you can follow Vancouver Playtesting Group on Instagram as Vancouver Playtesting Group. You can also find us on Meetup if you are in the Vancouver area. Find us on Meetup as Vancouver Playtesting Group. We are in the talks to make a website. We don't have it yet. We're working on it, but for now, those will be the big ones. Facebook, I think. And if you want to know anything about Spellaby, you can find it. You can find more information in Game Changer Studios. That is what I'm trying to call my gaming thing. Game Changer Studios for game design in Instagram for now.
Very cool. Thanks, Noe. About yourself, Mark Ellis, how can people follow you, learn more about what you're working on, anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, I guess right now the only thing probably is my Instagram, which I set up under Planet Rollers. So a little belatedly, so I'm getting to grips with Instagram. So I need to build some momentum on that platform. But I figured a good time post TCTC to start developing that.
The award-winning Planet Rollers, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. That would be a very long handle. But yeah, if anyone's interested to follow the development of that game, yeah, please jump on board. That'd be great.
That's
I'll
very
put
cool.
both of those in the show notes. And of course, we also have Protocon coming up again in November. We just locked in a new venue, I believe, that's a little bigger with some room to grow. And I think there's talk of like some seminars and other sort of events in and around that this year. So I'm very excited to see how that grows.
That is very exciting. Yeah, I've got some catching up to do on all that news. I think I know the designing team of the organising team, I should say, have been hard at work sourcing that venue. So yeah, I will watch this space.
Great. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on the show, not just for coming on the show this week, but also for, your years of dedication. I have seen very close hand the amount of work that it takes to put on these sorts of events week in, week out, and you've done it steadfastly, kind of supporting each other, which is great to see. But just, you do a service for the community. So if no one else says it to you, well, I want to thank you for the service that you perform. And I think we've proven that it has real results. Big games come out of the Vancouver community, and you're a big part of it. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to reflect that thanks as well, because you're very much doing your part. Both you and Daniel, building this podcast that's been I think you're in your fifth year now. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's a long time, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
So you're very much doing your part of knitting our community together and connecting up people in our community. So big thanks to you as well.
Awesome. Well, I don't know why it took this long to get you on the show, but I'm glad you came on. Mark Ellis, you and I have, it's like a walking down memory lane. It's been a long time since we've done a podcast together, so it's been a very nice experience. Awesome. Daniel, you want to shout out anything I've forgotten?
No, but if you have any questions or comments on today's episode, you can contact us at omnigamersclub@gmail.com or at our website, omnigamers.club.
That's right. Check out our videos on YouTube. We post them for every episode that goes out. If you want to listen to our older back catalog, maybe our 50th episode is spectacular. Was it our 50th or was it our 100th with Hot Banana Games?
Where 50, yeah.
Yeah, where we talked solely about food, I think Vancouver restaurants, which was a little tangent, but pretty fun. And a bunch of older episodes as well. Go check those out in our back catalog. I think I've officially quit social media, so I'm not going to promote anything there, but I'm still avidly following developments, local and otherwise. Daniel, how do people follow you and find out about our show?
Yes, you can find me at Blue Sky at Board Game Feast and the Omnigamers Club account there as well. And you just reminded me, Mark, one thing I did want to shout out is I was listening to the Board Game Geek podcast, newly hosted by a friend of the show, Amanda Panda. Just put out an episode interviewing Roberta Taylor, and like at least the first half of that is just talking about how excellent Vancouver is to visit and have conventions at. So go listen to that.
More local content. That's great to see. Well, I want to thank you both again for coming on the show. It's been an absolute blast, and kind of the door's open. If you want to come back, guest, share more updates on your games once they reach retail, because I'm sure they will. We want to know.
Yeah, if you can have us again, we'll come back as many times as you want.
Fantastic. Love to hear.
Thanks so much, Mark and Dan. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting, and I'd love to come back at some point. So fingers crossed that we can make it happen.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much for you for inviting us and giving us this opportunity.
Yes, thanks to both for joining us, and thanks everyone for listening. And remember to have a balanced diet of games. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Right.